got trouble.
We got trouble.
How much trouble?
Too much trouble.
Well, now, don't you bow. Just knuckle down and
understand, or to be able to talk to children wherever they are, homeless children. These are lollipops. I took lollipops along with my colleagues into those detention centers where children were. I wasn't armed. I wasn't fearful for my life. This is not a national security crisis. This is a humanitarian crisis. And so the question is, how can we, as good Americans and Republicans and Democrats, do what the chairman has said, be able to have in place an orderly process that people will know that crooks and criminals and thieves and smugglers and traffickers who are lying to them in Central America cannot be coddled. That's who we should go after. But the children should be given the basic coverage of the law that is in existence today that will allow us to treat them in a humane way. I hope this hearing will give us the additional insight to be able to do this. I do believe that the United States is doing and following the law, but we need to do better, and I look forward to doing so as we proceed in this hearing. I yield back.
Yes, you're listening to The Resistance, Forrest Wilson. That was Sheila Jackson Lee yesterday talking about the fact in her mind that this invasion on the border is not a national security threat. Our lines are open, 904-222-TALK, 904-222-8255. If you call and you leave Jack your address, we're going to send you a copy of Dynamic Freedoms. It's our freedom documents, courtesy of We the People, 1787. And this book contains the Magna Carta, Patrick Henry's speech, the call to arms, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, and excerpts from George Washington's farewell address, among other documents. It's definitely a great book, something that everyone should have. You can carry it in your back pocket. It's small enough. Again, the lines are open, 904-222-TALK, 904-222-8255. And you Americans that self-identify as liberals, you're going to be blamed for the next smoking city as a result of the next terrorist attack. Can you imagine a military strategy which leaves the borders open? I mean, only a fool would leave our borders open at a time of war. And yes, Mr. President, and all of you liberals supporting this dunce, this disaster of a president, you'll be blamed for the coming terrorism in this country. Where will you go? Will you self-deport? Why don't you self-deport now? You obviously don't like America. Why else would you want to expose the country to OTMS? That's other than Mexicans. I mean, are you aware that a top U.S. Defense Department analyst under President Bush said the ISIS, the Islamic jihadists creating a Muslim caliphate in Iraq and beyond, could use the Mexican border to infiltrate America, and it could happen sooner rather than later? This is from an article penned by Andrew Ireland on WorldNet Daily. Mr. Ireland points to the work of Michael Maloof, now a senior staff writer at WND, and an expert on Middle East affairs. According to Maloof, ISIS may be working to infiltrate the U.S. with the aid of transnational drug cartels, he said, citing the violent Mexican criminal gang MS-13 as a highly likely candidate for the partnership. MS-13 already in over 1,100 U.S. cities, and as a consequence, the infiltration capabilities are very, very high, and the threat from them can be sooner rather than later, Maloof warned. Our lines are open, 904-222-TALK, 904-8255. This WND article goes on. As reported by WND in 2005, Paul L. Williams, a former FBI consultant and author of The Al-Qaeda Connection, International Terrorism, Organized Crime, and the Coming Apocalypse, claimed that Al-Qaeda, under the leadership of Osama bin Laden, had delivered nuclear technology into the USA. Williams said that at the time that former CIA Director George Tenet informed President Bush 1 month after September 11, 2001, attacks that at least 2 suitcase nukes allegedly had reached al-Qaeda operatives in the U.S. 2 suitcase nukes. Williams goes on to claim al-Qaeda would pay the notorious MS-13 street gang between $30,000 and $50,000 for each sleeper agent smuggled into the U.S. from Mexico. And we've got this genius, Sheila Jackson Lee, saying that this is no national security threat, this invasion on our southern border. The sleepers are also provided with phony identification, most often consular ID cards indistinguishable from Mexico's official ID, which are accepted in the U.S. to open bank accounts and obtain driver's licenses. Well, they'll need a bank account because apparently they've knocked over banks in Iraq and are festooned with cash. And you libs claim the hordes coming from the South are good for the U.S. economy? I mean, are the people covering for this illegal invasion just that stupid? Is Sheila Jackson Lee just that stupid? Article goes on, at the time a Border Patrol supervisor anonymously reported that there was a surge in OTMS, that's other than Mexicans, being caught coming into the U.S. About 1 in every 10 that we catch is from a country like Yemen or Egypt, he said. This is the goal of international terrorists, to infiltrate this country and bring down the West. Article goes on, had it not been for Mexico detaining 13 citizens of Yemen on September 24, 2001, who were reportedly waiting to cross the border into Arizona, we can only speculate what might have happened next. So right after 9/11, they catch, September 24th, I mean, it wasn't 2 weeks later, 13 citizens of Yemen trying to cross the border. Now, I've been covering this mess for some time in the context of the gaping failure from a military strategic perspective and the impact of the economy. But the libs in this administration keep pointing to the benefits of illegal immigration. There are no benefits to Americans. There are no benefits to employment and the economy. The real benefit is a perpetual Democrat president and Congress supported by 30 million and increasing new Democrat supporters. Look, I'm sick of it, and so are a lot of others. You should be burning up the lines of your representatives. Our Congress has devolved from a brave, heroic group which drafted and voted to adopt the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, into a depraved, dangerous, dumbed-down, left-leaning group of morons as of July 5th, 2014, today. You know, I want my damn country back. And you politicians in Washington need to wake up and secure our borders. Now, you're going to have to sift through the throngs of illegals here once you figure it out and sort out who is and who is not a threat to this country. Is that even possible? I have no faith that it is, and no faith that the current group in Washington, with some exceptions, like Senator Mike Lee, Republican from Utah, and some others, could even begin a process to sift through all the people who have come here illegally and figure out who's good and who's bad, who's here to do evil and who's here just to pick lettuce. An example of this congressional brain trust is Corrine Brown, 5th Congressional District, Florida. Do you think Corrine is concerned about the disaster on our southern border? Do you think Corrine Brown understands that terrorists at war with us are looking at this military blunder of open borders as a major opportunity? Let me tell you a real story of immigration. On April 30th, 1975, the last helicopter to leave the roof of a diplomatic compound in Saigon, Vietnam, lifted off. I need to take a break, but I want to continue this story when we come back. You're listening to The Resistance, AM 600, The Answer. Lines are open, 904-222-TALK, 904-8255. I want you to come back after the break and listen to a real story of immigration. I'll be right back.
Let's return to We the People with Forrest Wilson. Once again, here's Forrest.
Okay, we're back. So I want to continue with this story, a real story of immigration. On April 30th, 1975, the last helicopter to leave the roof of a diplomatic compound in Saigon, Vietnam, lifted off. As these last few people, so desperate to escape the coming Holocaust, huddled with their families, the relentless communist army bore down on the city's people. Among the refugees was the family of Thuy Lowe. Thuy knew only 2 English words when she landed in America, yes and okay, but committed herself to learning English and becoming an American. Her family began building their new lives in America with temporary assistance from a church in Winter Park and temporary support from the welfare system. After a few years of hard work and perseverance, her dad became a business owner. And like so many American immigrants, legal immigrants, Thuy has an intense love of America and the way of life that many take for granted. In spite of some gains in economic reform, Vietnam still displays government suppression, little political freedom, and even less respect for civil liberties or human rights. I want to welcome Thuy Lowe, Republican congressional candidate for the 5th Congressional District, a seat held by the 21-year incumbent Corrine Brown, a Democrat. Thuy, welcome to the Resistance, and that's quite a story of immigration.
Well, thank you, Forrest, and thank you so much for having me here with you today.
You know, I read that story, and I tell you, I literally became teary-eyed because of course, back then, I was just a kid myself, and I had seen this collapse of Saigon. I had witnessed it on the nightly news, and I had never known anyone that actually escaped from Vietnam in those last days. But you were on literally the last helicopter. How old were you?
Well, that's right. I was 9 years old at the time, and you know, that iconic image that we all seen that was broadcasted all over the world, where a large number of people were being airlifted out of Saigon. I don't believe that was the last helicopter. I'm told recently that perhaps they need to go back and do research on that, because I'm also told that the helicopter where our family was airlifted out of Saigon on that April 30th was the last helicopter. And I remembered that, I remember around 2:30-ish, that was when the helicopter came down and picked us up. And that was when I remember hearing the mortars, the sound of bombings was coming into the city, and it was getting louder and louder as getting towards the end. And we were told that that was now or never, so we had to leave.
You must have been scared to death.
Actually, it was a very exciting time of my life, because, you know, America, I had this wonderful image of the United States, America, the most glamorous, the most powerful, the most richest country in the nation, or countries in the nation. And for me to have that opportunity is unreal. It is like the dream came true.
And when you got here, what was your impression?
Well, you know, I was 9 years old, so I was put into 5th grade, and I didn't speak any English. The only two words I knew were yes and okay. And I learned that first sentence of, I'm sorry, I don't speak English, and that was the only sentence that I used for a long time with my classmates. The kids were really, you know, the students were really nice to me. They didn't really know how to deal with an Asian who can't communicate with them. This was back in 1975, so there was an influx of immigrants in this country. So they were very kind to me until I got to middle school, you know, a couple years later. And you know how middle school kids are. They're a little meaner than elementary school kids. So, yeah, I faced the mean girls treatment too. So.
Well, you really seem to have turned into an American.
I'm so proud. I am an American. I don't see myself as anything but an all-American girl. I don't think that I'm a hyphenated American. I am an American. This is the only country that I've known and I've loved. And I'm very passionate about the future here and what it means to, you know, our country, what it means to the future generation. What are we leaving behind for them? I have kids here. I have properties here. This is my home. So there's no other place on earth that I'd rather be but here, right here in America.
Let's get to your congressional campaign. You decided to take on Corrine Brown. First, you've got to win a primary against Glo Smith, correct?
That's right. That's right. And Glo is a very well-respected candidate. I mean, she's a tough candidate.
Respected by Republicans, but I'm wondering if she's respected by Democrats. I mean, recently, in the last day or two, I've read reports that she had one of her campaign signs attacked, and basically they put a white face on her campaign sign, which is a picture of Glo. Have
Yes.
you experienced anything from the left so far attacking you as a female and a Vietnamese immigrant?
Well, there I think I'd like to answer that in two separate parts here. The first part is, as a candidate and in a campaign situation, we all experience some kind of vandalism. When I was running for Lake County School Board in 2012, I had a lot of my signs vandalized. I had people, my picture cut out of my, my face got cut out of the boards, the signs and all of that stuff. So I think that's normal. And the second issue that we should look at is, whether the white paint on her face. The first thing that came to my mind when I saw that image over internet was, oh my gosh, I was shocked that happened to her. Number one, I have not seen any of her signs up and down the district in terms of the conservative neighborhoods or areas. And I was thinking, well, if there was any signs that she had, it would probably have been up in Jacksonville. And sure enough, it was mentioned in an article that she had, a couple of signs stolen, and one of the signs was off I-10 in the Jacksonville area. And so the second thing is, when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, it looks like the message is that she does not represent the black community. When you have a African American candidate get their face painted white, the people that I believe that would have done that are those who don't believe that she's representing their community. That's a loud and clear message that Glow Smith does not represent the minority community here in Jacksonville.
Well, I think this is all part of a process. The Democrats have managed to literally dumb down most of the Democrats and a lot of the Republicans. Yeah. What makes you think that you can win, assuming you defeat Glow in the general election? What makes you think that you can compete against Corrine Brown?
Well, in the first 5 months of our campaign, we were focusing on the voters in District 5. And we talked to Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. It's amazing that 95% of the folks that we talked to don't like Corrine Brown. And 94% of the Democrats that we talked to in the conservative areas do not like Corrine Brown either. So it shows that we do have an opportunity to beat Corrine Brown. Now, when you look at the demographic in District 5, 60% of the voters are Democrats. 40% of the voters are African American voters. So I think that we really do have a good chance of winning this election in 2014. The grassroots movement is what's going to carry us in this election, and we're building that. And it shows. We had a top-notch straw poll in Apopka in Orange County last week, a week and a half ago, and I won the straw poll. This was hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, so it was a nonpartisan straw poll, and I won the straw poll. I beat Corrine Brown. She got 15% of the votes in this straw poll. So I think that if we continue our momentum, we can beat Corrine Brown.
Well, I really appreciate and laud you for taking her on. She's one of about 80 some odd progressives in the House of Representatives, and as you know, progressivism is really another term for socialism/communism.
Oh, absolutely, and I understand that she promotes communism and heavily, of course, socialism.
Do you think that this country is socialist, or are we on the brink of it?
Well, we're definitely have passed that line of being, into socialist country. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, with the financial structures, there's no doubt. I believe that the insurance structure, the banking structure, all of these things are really, we are our brother's keeper, in other words. I can't think of a single professional endeavor that doesn't require some type of onerous insurance, whether it's workers' comp or some type of insurance to protect you in your licensing and that sort of thing. I mean, it's literally in every human endeavor, and there is an agency of the federal government waiting for you. Just about, you pick whatever you want to do, and I'll show you an agency of the federal government waiting to have you licensed, fingerprinted, regulated, on and on and on. Is that something that you can attack if you win this congressional seat?
Absolutely. You know, the first thing that we should look at the connection of socialism to our debt. You know, our country is now 17.5 and moving up, and we continue to incur more debts into our deficit here. And it's because of all of these programs that it seems like our country seems like they want to give out. Or we can't continue to sustain if we continue to take care of everybody and not requiring people to recontribute back into our economic system.
I agree with you. I couldn't agree more. In fact, most of the jobs created since 2000 have gone to immigrants, both legal and illegal. There has been no net job growth for Native Americans. That's people that are here legally, citizens. And it's a sick scenario if you think about it. Approximately 58 million people are out of the workforce right now.
Oh,
and
sure.
We've got an invasion on the southern border.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, when we get back, we're going to get into some of the issues with Thuy Lowe. She's the 5th congressional candidate, 5th congressional district. She's going to hopefully have a opportunity in the general election. So stay tuned. You're listening to The Resistance. Forrest Wilson. We'll be right back.
Let's return to We the People with Forrest Wilson. Once again, here's Forrest.
And we're back. The lines are open, 904-222-TALK, 904-8255. We're having a conversation with Thuy Lowe. Thuy is the Republican congressional candidate for the 5th District against Corrine Brown. And Thuy, I want to read something from the Constitution. It's Article 4, Section 4, and it states that the United States shall guarantee to every state a Republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. So immigration, something very near and dear to you and your family. Do you think we need immigration reform?
Well, we have laws in the books right now, and they're not being enforced. So when are we start enforcing some of these laws? We continuously implementing and spending and wasting our time writing on something that we will never reinforce. That is wasting a lot of time, a lot of energy. We always, we have a lot of issues such as reducing our deficit, such as overseeing these big organizations and departments and ensuring that they're providing proper services to their recipients, which is to you, the people, and the tax dollars. And yet we're continuing to waste our time writing laws that most of them don't even read. Or let alone enforce. And one of the great examples is that what we have right now in the borders.
And it doesn't appear that the United States government is willing to provide and protect each of these states against invasion, because this is happening right now as we speak. I bet you by the time we're done with this interview, there'll be another 500 illegal aliens in this country, possibly some of them ISIS terrorists. So in your view, and I believe we've got too many federal agencies, there's 530 of them, and they have rulemaking authority outside of our Congress. In other words, they can put something in the Federal Register. If the Congress doesn't take it up in 60 days, it's law. And there's over 1 million regulations on the books right now. I mean, if you spent the rest of your life, you couldn't possibly comprehend those regulations. And I don't think we can expect the people to comprehend them, much less keep up and abide by them.
Oh, absolutely. Even Congress don't even read their own bills. It's amazing that we come out with 1,000 to 2,000 pages of bill every time we talk about putting something in place. What happened? Look at our Constitution. It wasn't done with a couple 100,000 pages, and it's been a founding document of our country for the last over 200 years. I think that it's time for us to put a restriction on how many pages in these bills should have, and make sure that all of the congressmen and women read what they're passing or they're voting on.
Yeah, and that's, they use that as a ploy to keep people from reading those so that they can quickly bring them to a vote, especially when they know they've got the votes, and I'm talking about the Democrats. But back to immigration, should the border be secured first?
Well, absolutely. We have the laws on the books now that we must secure the border, because our borders, not just only the southern end of the border, because number one, it is illegal. You don't want to promote anything that is legal. And if nothing else, America is the land of law and order, and so we want to make sure that all of the activities are legal activities. And I am, for one, as an immigrant, I do believe and I do support legal immigration. This country is made up of legal immigrants. So we want to make sure that, first of all, we recognize and we tell the world that, hey, if you come into this country, we want to make sure that you get your fingerprinted, you're going through our naturalization process, and you become a legal citizen here in this country.
What year did you become a citizen?
It took me a while, and my family came in this country in 1975, and at the time we were political refugees. So the rule was that we just need to be a citizen and good standing citizens here in the United States for 5 years before we can apply for our citizenship. Well, my dad applied for all of us. There are 5 of us. Well, actually 4 girls. My brother was born here in this country. So the first time he applied, I was under 18. And so, and they lost the documents. They lost 2 documents, mine and one of my sisters. And so after I turned 18, and mind you that every time we apply, it would cost us money, time, and energy. And so the second time I applied, again, they lost the document again. And so I think when I was in my 20s, I applied for the 3rd time, and every time I applied, the cost went up, and they lost the document again. And so after I got married, after a couple years, my husband finally helped me apply, and we stay on top of the application. And the sad thing is, every time I call to check on my status, one department would tell me something, and then I would go down, spend my whole day in line waiting to get a conversation with somebody that works down there. They would tell me something else. And so there was really a huge disconnection between, within the immigration division there. And then I found out again that we moved. After a couple of years, we moved to our new house. And during that time, I called them, make sure that they got my new address and everything to let me know, the status of it. And we continuously calling them and going down and checking up on the status of the application. And the next thing I know was I finally went down one day and see what the status of my application, and they told me, they said, well, I'm sorry, ma'am, your application was closed because we couldn't get a hold of you for over a year. So, I understand that we need to tighten the process in these, departments here. And I think that's one of the biggest problems here in this country is, we have laws that they're good laws, but the system is failing because we can't seem to provide quality service to the consumers or the people. So finally, I the last process, of course, I had to pay more money to get it in, to make another application. And finally, I became a U.S. citizen after 25 years of trying to become a United States citizen.
Is it offensive to you as a legal immigrant what the government is doing? They're basically inviting and telegraphing people in the countries south of our border that they can come here, bring their kids, get all sorts of benefits, and have a pathway to citizenship even though they come here illegally. Is that offensive to immigrants, legal immigrants?
Well, as a legal immigrant, I don't believe, and I am an American, and as an American, I don't believe that we should allow any type of illegal activities. That's the bottom line. I am one of the most passionate, or I have a lot of compassion, and I'm a compassionate person. But the bottom line is you can't break the law and think that it's okay to break the law.
Well, we got to take another break, but when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about Obamacare and some of your fundraising. You're listening to The Resistance. Forrest Wilson. My guest is Thuy Lowe, Republican candidate for the 5th Congressional District. She's going to go up against Corrine Brown after the primary, assuming she wins. I hope you stay tuned.
Once again, here's Forrest.
And we're back. We're talking with Thuy Lowe. She is a Republican challenger for Corrine Brown. She's challenging her for the 5th Congressional seat. And, Thuy, I want to talk to you about Obamacare. If you were to get elected, what would you do in the House of Representatives to defeat Obamacare?
Well, Obamacare is dangerous. It's dangerous to businesses, small businesses, and it's dangerous to the working class and working Americans. So and it's unconstitutional. I think the penalties of Obamacare is unconstitutional. So the first thing I would do is I would want to appeal the penalties of Obamacare and lift the mandate of the employers to have to offer insurance to their employees. And I would also want to delay the tax penalty on the Americans who do not have or need to pay insurance.
Would you push for reforms of insurance, such as being able to buy it across state lines? Because at least right now, for the insurance that is still left out there, for example, I've got a catastrophic policy that, by the way, I love, but I've been told by my insurer that I can only have it for several more months. I guess after the midterm elections is when I'm going to lose it. But this was my choice. This is what I wanted. This is what I want for my family. But I would like to see something, if in fact we can overturn Obamacare, something that would really put insurance, especially health insurance, back into the free market. But I believe that things like being able to buy it across state lines, some of the reforms regarding the tort reform, because, there's so many things that are required to be carried right now as a practitioner to protect you against all of these acts by attorneys, if in fact, you have an issue as a doctor treating a patient. So some of those things, I believe, would be better suited to our healthcare system as opposed to Obamacare. This is a 3,000-page bill that nobody read, and yet everybody voted on. Now, in fairness to the Republicans, not a single Republican voted for Obamacare. But what are your thoughts on that as far as the free enterprise and bringing health care back to the free enterprise system and getting government out of it?
Well, with the implementation of Obamacare, we all saw how disastrous it was. And so it's a good indication that big government programs don't work, and they're not going to serve the mass population. I mean, I do understand that, there are a number of Americans out there that need to have affordable health care, but Obamacare and Affordable Care Act is not the answer to the problem. Number one, I believe that Americans, we should have a choice. That's our freedom of choice, and we are protected under, our Constitution. The other thing I believe is that, you can't force people to make a decision to either put food on the table for their kids or buying health care insurance that they don't need at the moment. We have a lot of really good programs out there, and as a matter of fact, we have, most of the communities have what they call the community's health care program, where the program was subsidized by the public and the private sector, and a lot of doctors are doing work on pro bono basis. So why not expanding something where public and private sectors are in partner with each other? I don't believe that government or federal government needs to take control of any programs at all.
Well, I'd have to agree with you. I'm about up to my eyeballs in government and government programs. If you like what Thuy Lowe is saying, you can contribute to her campaign. In fact, her website is loweforcongress.com. That's LOWE, the number 4, congress.com, loweforcongress.com. By the way, after the show's done, I'm going to go ahead and put some money in your coffers from me. And
thank you. Wow.
And
that's a vote of confidence. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, I want to see some good Republicans elected. I want to see some citizens elected to the House of Representatives. Some people that have been in business and understand the threat that this federal government represents. How is your fundraising going? I noticed Ms. Brown predictably has the support of unions. Top of her 5 contributors being railroads, transportation unions, lawyers and law firms, public trade unions, and oddly enough, real estate. Now, I dug down into some of these donors, and Berkshire Hathaway, good old Warren Buffett's one of her contributors. How is your fundraising going?
Well, I have to admit, fundraising for myself is not one of my strongest point. I don't have a problem with fundraising for nonprofit organizations because I have done that all my life. But asking people for me is something that I'm not used to because I'm a pretty self-independent, but I know I have to do this, and I'm doing it. I'm finally picking up the nerve to do this here in the last 2 or 3 months. And surprisingly, there are a lot of people out there that believe in me, that they're supporting my campaign. So we have 4 different fundraisers coming up here actually this month. We have one next week. We just had one last week. We have one this coming next weekend and 2 more right after that. So the community is getting together, and they want to see a good conservative get elected to this position. And we're going to fight. We're going to fight really hard, and I'm the right person to defeat Corrine Brown, not because I am minority or because I'm a woman. I am the right person to defeat Corrine Brown because I understand, what it's like to start from nothing. I'm an immigrant who understand and who live the American dream. I do believe in American exceptionalism, and my family is a fine example of that. And I am in a position to show my gratitude and appreciation by serving this great nation and to help right the ship.
Well, I want to wish you the best of luck. And we've been talking to Thuy Lowe. I want to give her website again, so if you like what you hear, you can contribute. It's loweforcongress.com, and that's LOWE, the number 4, congress.com. Thuy Lowe, thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, thank you so much, Forrest, for being kind to me today.
Well, and there you have it, another great candidate for Congress, and I truly believe that this is our solution. It's literally our only solution short of revolution. We have got to get out the vote come this election. And if you want to vote for Thuy Lowe, you're going to have to do it in the primary. Remember, she's got a challenger, Glo Smith, another fine candidate. But if you want to contribute to her campaign, I'm going to give you this website again. It's loweforcongress.com, LOWE, the number 4, congress.com. I don't know if you heard about it, but last week, Louis Gohmert from Texas proposed a bounty bill for anyone who can recover the missing Internal Revenue Service emails. Gohmert said in a Politico article, "You can have a Justice Department that is actually involved in justice, and they use pressure, and they will get it done. But we don't have a Justice Department. We have a Just Us, or Injustice Department," he said on Fox News last Friday morning. And the bill would offer $1 million for anyone who can provide IRS official Lois Lerner's missing emails, and an additional $500,000 for any information on someone who destroyed the emails, according to Politico. Gohmert called for Attorney General Eric Holder to leave and said Holder should be impeached if he's unwilling to resign. Well, I can guarantee you Holder's not leaving. He's part of the cabal. But do you believe Lois Lerner's emails are lost? I mean, doesn't NSA have the emails? It took one generation for us to carry around a personal surveillance device. And courtesy of the leaker Edward Snowden, we now know that the NSA is snooping on our emails, our text messages, our telephone calls. I mean, it would seem that someone has those emails. But how convenient to lose something that you're required by law to maintain. Our government doesn't follow the law, and example after example. And I believe the IRS needs to be abolished and the fair tax instituted. But I've been thinking a lot about this, and having worked in technology for about 20 years in a prior life, I bet the IRS has an email server because, most large organizations have one, and the server captures all incoming and outgoing email traffic and frees up users' machines for storage and other uses like, lists of Tea Party applications for not-for-profit status. But I bet you somewhere in that IT department there's a server with Lois Lerner's emails. And I'm thinking, why not depose the IRS's IT department and its management? The Louis Gohmert's right. This should be investigated by the Justice Department, but we know Eric Holder will do nothing to expose this outrageous feral agency. Feral like a feral wild animal. Have you ever dealt with the IRS? I mean, they come at you with every tool available to extract taxes and hold you accountable. And they're literally claiming that these emails are lost. I believe it's time for us to stand up and hold this agency accountable. And I'd like to see this agency dissolved and the fair tax implemented. But I want to go back to the topic of illegal immigration one more time, and I want to debunk any positive economic impact of this illegal immigration and the actual effect on average working Americans, or in this case, out-of-work Americans. Last week I brought up the fact that Center for Immigration Studies has released a new report, and all economic growth since 2000 went to immigrants. According to the report from the Center for Immigration Studies, net employment growth in the United States since 2000 has gone entirely to immigrants, legal and illegal. According to the study, 58 million working-age natives are not employed. Those are American citizens. I don't know where we're going with this government or where it's going to wind up, but this crisis on the border really needs to be looked at for what it is. It is a strategic military blunder to leave those borders open, whether you're talking about the northern border or the southern border. In this case, you can literally see the effects of this mass exodus from states in the South, women and children coming to this country. And yes, I feel sorry for them, but this is a hole like no other. And it's open for terrorists from all these crazy countries that are out to end the West. In any event, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you'll tune in next weekend. You're listening to The Resistance with Forrest Wilson, AM 600, WBOB The Answer. Thank you for listening.
Listen, my Lord, I got 7 women.